Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Democrat Senator Robert Menendez issues a scathing critic of the U.S.-led nuclear agreement with Iran, becoming the second senior American lawmaker from President Barack Obama's own party to announce he will vote to reject the deal. The Islamic State of Iraq and Levant publishes a video calling Turkish people to rebel and fight against the rule of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and help conquer Istanbul. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi approves a new anti-terrorism law in an increased effort to battle rising insurgency in Israel's western neighbor. United States Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee arrived in Israel as part of a visit to the Middle East. Huckabee, a devout Christian and one of the more than a dozen candidates contending for the Republican presidential nomination, started his tour at the Jewish settlement of Shiloh in the West Bank, during which he declared his unwavering support to the Jewish state.
What are your plans for the so-called territories?
Yaakov, I recognize Judea and Samaria as part of Israel, and I believe that it's most important that we realize that there are more Jews living in Judea and Samaria than most people ever realize, and that those numbers are significant. It's an important part of the security of Israel, and so I'm not in the least concerned about coming to any part of Judea and Samaria.
The former Arkansas governor drew criticism last month for comments in which he denounced a nuclear agreement between the Islamic Republic of Iran and world powers, in which he said that President Barack Obama was marching Israelis to the door of the oven, a reference to the Nazi gas chambers that killed millions of Jews in the Holocaust.
It was the Iranians who invoked the imagery and the very word Holocaust. They have said that they have developed missiles that will deliver Israel to the Holocaust. Those are their words. Israeli officials regularly remind the people of Israel and the people of the world that the Iranians' intent is to wipe Israel off the face of the map. And as an American, I'm concerned that the second thing that the Iranians threaten and have for 36 years is that they will bring death to America, a chant that they made even as they were negotiating.
Israel has called the nuclear agreement a threat to its survival and has urged U.S. lawmakers to reject the deal, saying it would give Iran a sure path to nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, Democrat Senator Robert Menendez issued a scathing critique of the U.S.-led nuclear agreement with Iran, becoming the second senior American lawmaker from President Barack Obama's own party to announce he would vote to reject the deal with the Islamic Republic.
In essence, we thought the agreement would be rollback for rollback. You roll back your infrastructure, and we'll roll back our sanctions. And at the end of the day, what we appear to have is a rollback of sanctions, and Iran only limiting its capability, but not dismantling or rolling it back. So what do we get? We get an alarm bell should they decide to violate their commitments and a system for inspections to verify their compliances. That, in my view, is a far cry from significant dismantling.
The speech by Senator Menendez, who is a strong backer of Israel, contained a detailed technical analysis of the agreement. Menendez pointed out that throughout President Obama's term in office, he has mainly backed the Democratic president, supporting him on most reforms and major initiatives. Menendez, however, questions Obama's threats to ultimately take military action against Iran if it went ahead with making a nuclear bomb.
Now, while I have many specific concerns about this agreement, my overarching concern is that it requires no dismantling of Iran's nuclear infrastructure and only mothballs that infrastructure for 10 years. Not even one centrifuge will be destroyed under this agreement. We should authorize now the means for Israel to address the Iranian threat on their own in the event that Iran accelerates its program and to counter Iranian perceptions that our own threat to use force is not credible. And we should make it absolutely clear that we want a deal, but we want the right deal. And that a deal that does nothing more than delay the inevitable isn't a deal we are willing to make. I have looked into my own soul, and my devotion to principle may once again lead me to an unpopular course. But if Iran is to acquire a nuclear bomb, it will not have my name on it. It is for these reasons that I will vote to disapprove the agreement, and if called upon, would vote to override the agreement.
The U.S. Senate and House of Representatives have to vote by the 17th of September on a resolution of disapproval brought by majority Republicans aiming to stop the nuclear agreement with Iran. Now to other news, the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant published a video calling Turkish people to rebel and fight against the rule of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and help conquer Istanbul. Speaking in Turkish, an Islamic State militant accused President Erdogan of selling the country to crusaders and the atheist Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, as well as allowing Turkish bases to be used by the Crusaders and the United States just to keep his post.
Ey Türkiye halkı! Vakit geçmeden sizin bu ateistlere, Haçlılara ve sizi kandırıp Haçlılara köle yapan bu tağutlara karşı ayaklanıp onlarla bir an evvel savaşmanız lazım. Beraber el-metin olan Allah'ın ipine sarılalım ve daha sonra Peygamberimizin soyundan ve Ehl-i Beytinden olan müminlerin emiri Ebu Bekir el-Bağdadi'nin, Allah onu korusun, emriyle hain Erdoğan'ın gece gündüz Haçlılara teslim etmek için mücadele ettiği İstanbul'u fethedelim.
The call by ISIL comes 2 months after the extremist Islamic group launched a Turkish-language magazine in June with a front-page story titled The Conquest of Constantinople, which called for a new Islamic conquest of Turkey's biggest city, Istanbul. Turkey agreed last month to open its strategically important bases to the US-led coalition, a major policy change after years of reluctance to take a frontline role against the Islamist fighters pressing on its borders. It has also launched 3 airstrikes against Islamic State targets inside Syria and detained thousands of people in what Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu called a synchronized effort against terrorism. The majority of Turkey's air raids and attacks, however, have so far targeted Kurdish militants. Earlier this week, the United States carried out its first manned airstrikes against ISIL targets from Turkey's southern Incirlik air base, while officials said once the coalition deployment is completed, attacks will ramp up. Now to Egypt, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi approved a new anti-terrorism law which comes in the face of a 2-year-long insurgency that aims to topple his government. The new law will bring about special new courts that will oversee detailed sentences for various terrorist crimes, ranging from 5 years to the death penalty. The anti-terrorism law will shield those applying it, such as the military and police, from legal ramifications for the proportionate use of force in performing their duties. Egypt is facing an increasingly violent insurgency in the north of the Sinai Peninsula, where the most active militant group has pledged allegiance to the leader of the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Cairo and other cities in Egypt have also witnessed attacks. The insurgency, which has killed hundreds of soldiers and police in Egypt, has intensified since then Army Chief al-Sisi ousted the Islamist former President Mohamed Morsi after mass protests against his rule in 2013, following President Morsi's attempt to garner additional power that would secure his rule for many years to come. Thank you for watching us. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.